And thank you. Thank you very much. That's better. Thanks so much for asking me to come and speak at the reception. And James, I thought that was a really powerful and moving story of your own journey here. And thank you for sharing that with us. And thanks also to SME4Labour as ever for the brilliant work you do. See Ibrahim over here, who I'm delighted to be supporting to be Labour's candidate in Vauxhall. Big hand for Ibrahim. But look, this is a real success story, isn't it? It is a real British success story. My introduction to the world of vaping comes from my wife, who made the transition very successfully. She vapes now, and I don't know the last time she had a cigarette. Hopefully, a very long time ago. Our son is still yet to be convinced. Perhaps he's exposed to some of these messages that James mentioned. He's still trying to find every available excuse to remove e-cigarette from my wife. So there is an ongoing standoff in our household about access to vaping. But it is clearly a big step forward. The public health messages which are set out here and which you described, I think, are well demonstrated. And I have constituents who run a firm called Blends, and I know the industry body are familiar with Blends. Blends is a company run by my constituent Mike Roark, and Blends makes colours and flavourings, and they make. Am I better off without that? Can you hear me all right with it?
Yeah.
Okay. Blends make e-liquid as well as many other products, and they showed me their laboratory. Try again. Marvellous. They showed me their lab and described to me the process and the importance of really good quality in the manufacturing process and avoiding some of the cheap, typically imported products. So if you get the chance to buy from Blends as retailers, please, or through wholesalers who are stocking them, please do, because it's helping the economy of Merseyside and my constituents in particular. But yeah, they made that very strong public health case in exactly the same way as you did, James, to me when they described the business. And you've made the point about a success story on our high streets. We have our high streets and town centres which far too often are in decline. That's true in my constituency in the Liverpool City region, just as it is across the country. So having success stories is important. But one sector is not going to solve the problems of declining high streets on its own. I had an email this afternoon from the second biggest provider of ATMs to tell me that they were going to end free access to cash machines. They're going to start charging because they cannot justify otherwise. It is yet another contributory factor in the decline of the high street. And that's why Labour is so committed to investing in our high streets, to coming up with ideas, whether it is supporting this very ethically driven approach that you set out for us, James, whether it is increasing access through better bus services, through publicly available Wi-Fi, through making sure that we have public services back in our town centres and high streets, through making sure that we have a vibrant nighttime economy with strong restaurants like the ones that Ibrahim runs in over the bridge from the Palace of Westminster. Whether it is plug number 2, I've got to get a third plug in at some point. Whether it is ensuring that with the excellent announcement that the party has made today about having a fleet of community electric cars that is available in our town centres and throughout our communities, with charging points available in our town centres and high streets. Whether it is making sure that we keep our bank branches and our post offices and those free ATMs so that people have got reasons to come into town centres and that they are much more, there is much more footfall available for retailers and the quality retailers like yours, James, in our town centres and high streets. But it is things like decent quality housing, it is things like having workplaces in our town centres and high streets. That's very much the agenda for Labour. But it can only work if we revitalise the economy by investing properly in the green industrial revolution, whether it is electric cars and the much bigger announcement about the transition that you'll see more of in the news tomorrow, where we are committed to a complete switch from petrol and diesel to electric and making sure that there's an increase in the number of jobs and that the opportunity for converting the entire industry and putting in place the electric infrastructure to go with it is in place. It is a radical, transformative and ambitious plan, but it is absolutely essential for jobs and the prosperity, and it is that prosperity that will revitalise our communities, put the money back into people's pockets and enable them to spend them in our town centres and high streets. So that it is that wider picture as well. But thank you very much for sharing your story, James. Thank you to the industry for hosting tonight's and sponsoring tonight's reception for SME4Labour. It is brilliant to share in success stories. So I wish you all the very best for the future and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you all.